Okay, so I'm doing a 200-hour service on another Pike fork, but this Pike fork has a 2.0 charger. So I put out a 200-hour service video for a Pike fork, a 2018 and on, basically with a 2.1 charger and the C1 air spring upgrade kit. This particular fork it's an older fork, it's a 2016, and I took my 2.0 charger from my 2018, put it into the 2016. So I'm just doing this video to show you that 2.0 and 2.1 are not all that different at all. In fact, they're just about identical, and I figured why not show it, right? So if you want to see the 2.1 fork or the 2.1 charger service, go to my other video that I posted a few weeks back, or maybe a month ago. I don't even remember how long ago it was. And you could take a look at that one. This one here, again, I'm only going to be doing the service for the 2.0 charger. The rest of the fork is essentially identical. So let's get started. What you're going to need for this job: one, you are going to need a 200-hour service kit. Make sure you get the right one for your particular fork. And in that service kit, there will be a charger seal head. So we are going to have to replace that with the glide ring and the O-ring for the top threaded, or at least the top part that threads into the actual fork body, into the stanchion tube, I should say. So we are going to need a T10 torque screw, a Rockshox syringe so we could bleed later. You could dump the oil into anything. I dump it into a little bucket just so I could take a good look at it. In order to remove the charger, you're going to need a cassette tool, 23 millimeter wrench, 23 millimeter crowfoot with a torque wrench so you can torque everything back down to specs. Am I missing anything? Nope, I am not. Not that I know of, at least. All right, let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to empty out the oil. So there's two ways to do this. Again, you could either install the tube into a vise and then remove the seal head and then take it out and dump it all. My issue with that is sometimes it could turn into a mess. One little mess up and you got oil everywhere, right? So what I do is I just take out the bleed screw and dump the oil slowly into a small container. So let's get started. And like I said, the only reason I do it this way is it gives me a little bit more control. I mean, I'm not in a garage over here. Technically, I'm in a kitchen. So, and basically, it just gives me a little bit more control in order to keep things a little bit neater, right? So basically, to get the oil out, you just squeeze in and out. Squeeze in and out. All right, a couple more times. This oil's actually not in that bad shape. This is actually my girlfriend's bike. She gets either my hand-me-downs or new stuff after I take stuff off her bike and put onto mine when I don't feel like waiting for shipping. All right, so this guy's basically empty, and we look at the oil. Not that bad shape, a little bit dark, but then again, this bike doesn't get used all that much at all, actually. So, and now we will take off the seal head. So to take off a seal head, we need a vise. Now, on the top of the shaft over here, there's a couple of indentations, right? And that's where you're going to place your vise, or you're going to install the shaft onto the vise and lock it in there, and then we're going to take off this seal. So basically, you put it into the vise, make sure the indentation lines up. We don't have to go too tight with pressure over here, right? Hopefully you guys can see it well. Actually, it seems like it's on the side, but good enough. You guys can see it, right? So now I'm in there. Grab my 23 millimeter wrench. Put it, there we go. Line it and unthread the seal head. I probably could use, let's do it by hand. There we go. All right, there might be some oil coming out. Let it drain out. All right. Okay. At this point, grab a clean rag. Just take all the oil off. So what we are going to do is we are going to change the seal head. We're going to change the glide ring. So let's take our seal head out of our package. Nice shot of my feet. Okay, so took everything out. Let's clean our rod. All right, so we have to change out the glide ring. Totally forgot. Well, technically you don't need a pick. You can do this by hand, but pick might make it a little bit easier. All right, so we grab the glide ring, just separate it a little bit. Come on. Not funny. There we go. Okay. Pull the glide ring out. And let's put the new glide ring in. Oops. Boy, I hope I had that on camera. I didn't even notice. Okay. Let's basically split ring over here. Split it apart. Now, make sure that each side connects to each other just like that. Make sure they're not overlapped. Easy enough, right? So then we put in our new seal head. So, slide this sucker in. Actually, what you can do is, just to make it a little bit easier, there we go. So, this guy is done. All right, so now what we're going to do is, let me readjust the camera here. Take our tube, take them out, and empty out any remaining oil that might be in there. Actually, I might as well just empty them out into here. Now, what you can do is put alcohol into the tube and try and clean out everything in there. If you don't regularly maintain your forks, then yeah, go ahead and do that. But I very regularly maintain my forks. So even this one here probably doesn't even have 100 hours, to be honest. But since I did all my other forks, I figured why not. Like I said, my girlfriend doesn't ride her bike all that much. So I don't have to go in there and deal with the oil. I mean, deal with the alcohol inside there and cleaning everything out. All right. So let's just squeeze the rest out, just in case. That's the remainder that's here in the bladder. All right. Good enough for who it's for. All right. So now it's a question of installing everything. And basically, simple enough, it's reverse of what we just did. So we're going to take this guy, we're going to put him on the vise again. All right. We're going to take the rod, delicately put him in. Thread him in by hand first. And I forgot the torque spec. I don't remember if it was 12 Newton meters. At least I didn't say nanometers. Honestly, don't remember. Give me 2 seconds. I will be back. I am back. 5.1 Newton meters, but I forgot to do one little minor detail. Not that you really need to do, in my opinion, but hey, why not? And that is, let's take this guy back out again. Put a little bit of grease on the inside of the damper. I mean the rebound seal. All right. Don't go too crazy. Okay, now that we got that, let's Put them through again. And now you could insert them delicately. Make sure you don't scratch the sides. Always thread by hand first. Thread as tight as you can. And now this is where your crowfoots comes in handy. So we grab our torque wrench, set them to 5.1 Newton meters. Oops, 5.1. Put on, I gotta get mine. That's right, these are half. Hold on, I need to get an adapter. So, put on my adapter. I mean my converter, right? So then we tighten this guy down to 5.1 Newton meters. And that part is all done, right? Now I'll change the seal on the top part of the damper body. All right, let's just clean this, make sure there's nothing in it. My camera's too low. Let me solve that. So I took off the old seal. Let's just make sure everything's clean over here and there's no debris that doesn't need to be there. All right, let's put a little bit of grease, just a thin coat on a new seal. Grease is always your friend. And now let's put the seal on. Boom, done. This guy is officially ready to be bled. Bleeding process, very similar to the way I did it in my last video. Well, identical really. So I like, as opposed to bleeding it totally vertically, I like bleeding it on an angle. Again, it just gives me a little bit more control to make less of a mess in my opinion. So, but you could easily just put in a vise, mount the damper completely vertical and bleed, right? So as I mentioned in my last video, I put together this little tool in order to help with moving in the rebound rod a little bit easier. Gives me a little bit more leverage. It's an M8 bolt with a few washers and a couple of nuts and a lock washer basically, and I just take this guy and I thread him to the end over here, and it makes it a lot easier. Actually, it makes it way easier to pull out an air spring, but it makes it much easier just to move the rod back and forth, right? People sell that thing for about 30 bucks, if not 40 bucks. I think I put it together for a couple of bucks, if that. To be honest, I think it was even cheap, way cheaper than that, to be honest. So the new seal head comes with a bleed screw. We will take out the bleed screw. All right, and we will put it aside. The old bleed screw we'll leave on this side. The new bleed screw has a new washer in it, or O-ring I should say. So then we take our syringe. I leave my syringe open at first. Okay, the reason I leave it open is because I will pour oil straight into it and cycle the damper until it fills up as much as I can before I actually start going through the true bleed process. Right now, one thing again, like I mentioned in my last video, we need 3-weight oil. RockShox changed their 3-weight oil. The new one is much darker. 3-weight oil from RockShox has always been a rosy type, red, pinkish type color. Now it's a much darker color. I guess they added some anti-stiction stuff and it changed the whole formula. Essentially was change the color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy here, fill him up as much as I can, right? So now my damper shaft is fully extended, and I'm going to slowly put them in, and air is going to be forced out, right, bringing oil in. And we are going to do this until we can't fill up the syringe with oil anymore. All right, as you can see, there we go. More bubbles coming out. All right, that's empty. Let's put the rest in here. As you see, less and less air is coming out. If it aerates too much, just let it sit there. Right now it's very aerated. We want to make our lives easier later. Just let the air raise to the top before you put it back in. All right. Do it again. Slowly, more air is coming out. Unfortunately, in my case, I put a little bit too much oil in there. So when it comes time to remove the syringe in order to put the plunger in it, oil's going to want to come out a little bit. It's going to make a little bit of a mess, but not the end of the world. Let me get a towel, clean towel. Put it around here, just for now. Remove as much air bubbles out as we can this way before we go for the heavy bleeding. Still taking out air bubbles. You really want to be thorough with this process. You literally do not want any air whatsoever, not one bubble in here. It absolutely makes a huge difference. So just be thorough. Okay, so nothing of significance is coming out. Right now the rest is going to have to be suctioned out. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is try not to make a mess. Usually I don't miss that bad. There we go. So let's see if we can do this. That's it. Oh. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is open up a new bottle since my old bottle ran out. And put this on the side for garbage. If I can put some all this stuff in garbage. Okay. Boy, man, this guy's stiff. He's so stiff. Oops. That's not good. Definitely don't want to breathe that in. Okay, now we're going to take out all the air, and then we're going to suck in more oil from the bottom, from the bottle. There we go. Fill them up a little bit. Don't put too much. I put about 1/3 of the way. And then we will screw them back in here. Put them up so the oil doesn't get everywhere. All right, so now we're in, right? So now we're going to do the same thing, except the biggest difference being we're also going to use suction in order to help us remove as much oil as possible. Let me cover this guy before he spills over. My luck, he probably will. All right. This is basically identical process to bleeding SRAM.brake fluid. All right, so let's put pressure in the system and let suction move out air bubbles just like that, right? I put pressure in, and then suction is going to remove bubbles. Then I add more pressure, and it'll extract them, let them go through the syringe, and repeat. repeat until you're sick of doing it. If it aerates too much, let it sit there. Let all the bubbles climb to the top. There we go. So another thing we could do is apply pressure. You will see the bladder expand. Oh, actually, this can go up. Apply pressure, the bladder will expand, and then just force the bladder shut. That's going to move more air. We have shims over here. We want all the air to get through the shims. So forcing it through like that is definitely going to help. See how much air just came out? All those little bubbles. So just keep on doing it until no more bubbles come out. Expand it, force it shut. See all those little bubbles that come out? And suck them out. All right, I'm gonna let it sit for a couple of seconds, or a few seconds. So all the air in the syringe goes to the top. Ooh. Okay. Turn that guy down a little bit more. Actually, it's doing pretty good right now. I feel like it's deceiving me. All right, another thing you could do is hold the plunger down with your thumb and then push in. And again, you'll see the bladder expand and then pull out quick. All right. Oh, see, a whole bunch of bubbles just came out of there. A whole bunch of bubbles just came out. Hmm. Right now, let's fill it up again. Just take your time here. 10, 15 minutes, be thorough. You will not regret it for the next few hundred hours if you do. Okay, right now I haven't seen a bubble in a while, so what we're going to do is we're going to compress, inflate the bladder, and then let it naturally retract to its resting position, right? Should look like an hourglass. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we are going to remove the syringe. A little bit of oil might want to come out. Okay, yep, there's your little bit of oil. Let's put the bleed screw in. That's a nice thing also, is that when you have it in this position, oil doesn't empty out from the port. It always stays full. So now, look at that, minimal mess. This does not have to be a messy job. So, now what we're going to do is take this guy, let's clean him up a little bit more, make sure to get whatever little oil spilled out. There we go. And we're going to cycle him a bunch of times. Okay, we're going to put him in the lockout position. Where are you? Take your cap. Actually, let me clean this up before I put him in here. We're going to make sure he stays locked. Or, technically it's not going to lock 100%, but it's extremely hard. Okay. Put this guy out here. Right. 1, 2. Right, so now when I press it, that is significantly harder. Like I have to put some serious pressure. So we know we're good there. All right, I mean some serious pressure. So let's unlock them again. Open them up. 1, 2. And now it's back to squeezing like normal, right? So let's squeeze them a whole bunch of times. Try and do them with a bladder end downwards and shaft end upwards. This is your shock in action right now. Okay. Fill them up. And put pressure on them. Again, we're going to try and squeeze out whatever remaining air there is into the top part of the tube. Alright, so let's put them here one last time. That's not good. Let's lock them down. Make sure the bleed port's all the way straight up. Alright, let's take out the bleed. For crying out loud, I'm going to need that. Let's take out the bleed port. Some oil's going to want to come out again, but not much. Let's put in bleed syringe. One more towel. And first, suck it in. There we go. There's an air bubble. There's a couple of other air bubbles, as you can see. Hopefully you can see. There's a few more air bubbles. See what I mean? More bubbles. Like I said, it's deceiving. And you want every one of those out of there. There really is no room for bubbles in this system. Rear shock, the same thing. You want to get them all out. Every one of them. Alright, let's do this one more time. And absolutely nothing. So now we should be good. Huh. No, we're not. Shit. What a stubborn damper. Huh. Come on. Okay. Now we should be good. I'd be amazed if there was anything in the system now. Ah, that's clean. Yep. We are good to go. Okay, so once again, what we're gonna do, yeah, let me just squeeze it one more time just to be sure. Yeah, we're safe. Well, now my OCD is kicking in. Oh yeah, we're good. So once again, depress the plunger. Oops, shit, I just sucked it, put air in there. For crying out loud. Oh my, anyway, I don't think I went all the way in, but let's be 1,000,000% sure. Yeah, we're good. So once again, depress the plunger, make sure air bubbles don't go inside, right? All you want to do is just expand, just like that. You want to expand the bladder, and then you want it to just rest back into its natural shape, okay? Before we take out the syringe again, let's prep the bleed screw. Okay, some oil's going to want to come out again. There we go. Now let's put in the bleed screw. And now we are good to go. We have a fully serviced Charger 2.0 damper. Again, same thing as the 2.1. No difference. That was a nice thing RockShox did, actually. They didn't change a bunch of stuff when going through a new revision of damper. So just wanted to show you guys that it's the same process. Actually, it sounds way quieter than before. So that sounds good. Awesome. The rest of the installation, just go to the other video. You will see it there. It is identical as far as putting this into the stanchion tube and installing the remotes on top, and then closing up the whole shock. All right, hopefully this video helps some people out, give some people some confidence, especially beginners out there. Again, you could send this in to RockShox, but these days, I'm telling you, it's costing about 150 to 200 bucks, depending on where you're from, in order to ship it back. So if you ride very often, it's actually worth doing this yourself. It's not all that hard. It just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of time. And it's a fun project in my opinion, but yeah. So like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.